lovely kings and queens, princesses and princes of the kingdom of Stardust. How are you all? I hope you are well. I have had so much fun joining a lot of you for birthday parties over the past couple of weeks, and we have had the best time dancing together. I have had so much fun. I've realised that a lot of you out there love ballet. So I thought today, while it's a little rainy outside, I'd sit down and tell you the story behind my favourite ballet, Swan Lake. So find somewhere comfortable to sit, grab yourself a cup of tea in your favourite mug and find a nice cosy blanket. And once you're all ready, I'll start reading. This is the story of Swan Lake. It was the prince's birthday. Days of celebration followed, feasting, presents, dancing. Heralds carried the invitation far and wide. Come to the royal castle tomorrow, for Prince Siegfried is 21 years old and will soon take his rightful place as king. Already the castle gardens were crowded with people from the village. All had come to wish Prince Siegfried a happy birthday with flowers and dancing. There he is, they cheered. Oh, isn't he handsome? Imagine being married to someone as handsome as that. I wonder who he'll choose for his wife. The prince? Marry? He'd sooner go hunting with his friends. They all chattered. It was true. Siegfried's mother, the queen, was quite upset about it. She knew how much he liked hunting, and she'd even given him a crossbow for his birthday. But she also knew it was time for the prince to be choosing a wife, marrying, having sons and daughters of his own. She often spoke to him about it, and she even invited beautiful princesses to the castle. But Siegfried never paid any attention to them. He just rode off into the forests with his friends and left the princesses drinking tea with the queen. Really, Siegfried, parties are all very well, his mother the queen said, but you must start taking life more seriously. You must choose a bride. Tell him, Wolfgang, you're his teacher. Tell him how important it is. The queen left, but the prince had hardly heard a word she said. He was far too busy admiring his new crossbow. Your excellent mother is right, young man, said old Wolfgang sternly. There are some things far more important than parties. Be a good boy and choose a nice, pretty girl at the ball tomorrow and settle down. But Siegfried had hardly heard a word his teacher said either. He was too busy watching a big flock of swans flying across the sky. Swans! Come on, everybody. Let's practice our shooting, cried the prince. With any luck, there'll be something far better than princesses at the party tomorrow. There'll be some roast swan. All the young huntsmen set off together for the woods. But in among the trees, searching for the swans, they were soon separated. Siegfried found himself alone beside a lake. The flock of swans had landed on the water and were swimming towards the bank. They paddled ashore on their large black feet, all the little cygnets flurrying out together. Last to come was the whitest swan of all, wearing, could it be, a golden crown? Siegfried laid an arrow to his bow. That was when he saw it, the most wonderful of sights. The milk-white swan spread its wide wings, stretched its long neck high in the air, and the feathers, the great black feet, the orange beak, the wings, everything but the crown melted away like snow. And there stood a beautiful woman, lifting a gown of white above her knees as she waded ashore. The next moment, all the other swans were transformed into young women, the cygnets into little children. Siegfried's crossbow dropped from his hands and the noise startled him. Don't be afraid, he said. Am I dreaming? Tell me who you are. The swan girl's name was Odette, Princess Odette. Her kingdom was a land far, far away. She and her friends were prisoners of a terrible magic. The evil sorcerer von Rothbart had cursed them. During the day, they would live as swans, and only at night would they return to their human selves. Can anything save you? Asked the prince. Nothing but love, replied the swan girl sadly. Then you are saved, said the prince, because I I love you. Daylight was already creeping in through the trees and Princess Odette was starting to turn back into a swan. As her arms stiffened, transforming into wings, she made her way back to the lake. The prince called to her, "Come to the ball at the palace tomorrow, and I will choose you to be my wife." From a distance, the evil von Rothbart, disguised as an owl, was angry. "Does that prince really think he can break my spell so easily?" He laughed with his daughter. His selfish and ugly daughter, Odile, was jealous. She wanted to marry the prince. "You shall marry the prince," her father said, reading her thoughts. "I shall disguise you in a dress and use magic so your face looks like hers. The prince will never know, and he will give you his love forever and ever." He hooted an evil laugh like an owl. That night, the castle glistened with ribbons and silk. Princesses with beautiful hair and dresses of many colours arrived in gold and silver coaches to meet the prince. As the queen introduced the prince to each princess, all he could do was watch the door, waiting for Odette to arrive. There, a woman dressed in scarlet red swept into the ballroom. It was her! The prince hurried to ask her to dance. "Do you love me?" the woman asked. "Of course," the prince replied. But he should have looked more closely, for we know that the woman was not his Princess Odette, but instead it was the evil sorcerer's daughter, Odile. Suddenly, von Rothbart appeared. "We have what we came for," he told his daughter as they turned to leave. "The prince has promised to spend the rest of his life with my daughter, Odile." The prince was confused. But where was his swan princess? Just then he looked up and saw a beautiful swan at the window. That must be her, the real Odette. The prince grabbed his sword, prepared to fight for his real true love. But it was too late. Odette flew away to her friends, sad that the prince had forgotten her. Back at the castle, the prince was not giving up. He ran through the rain, sleet and snow and into the woods, desperate to find Odette. "I'm sorry, please forgive me," he called when he reached the lake. Odette appeared. "He tricked me with magic. I was blinded. I couldn't see you until it was too late. I love you, Odette, not Odile. I always will," the prince said. But there was nothing the prince could do. He had already promised to marry von Rothbart's daughter, Odile. "Maybe there is a place we can still live together," the prince said as he grabbed Odette's hand and they started walking towards the lake. Von Rothbart, who was watching from a distance, cried with terror, "No!" The prince and princess's love was far too strong for his magic. All of his magic burst inside him and he fell dead on the spot as his whole body filled with poisonous, evil magic. The sun rose over the lake and all of Odette's friends were returned to their human form. The spell was broken. Prince Siegfried took Princess Odette's hand and together they danced to the riverbank where they would live happily ever after. That is such a beautiful story. I can definitely imagine the little swans dancing around the riverbank when I read it. I really hope you enjoyed listening to the story, and I hope you'll join me for another story again soon. Until then, lots of princess hugs and kisses. Bye!